Section 4.3, the slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form represents the equation y equals mx plus b. So using this equation, we're going to learn how to graph a straight line using the slope m and the y-intercept b. First, let's review how to calculate the slope of a line. The slope tells us how the line slants. So the formula that is boxed here in red, you need to have memorized. And it basically tells us that if we have 2 points on a line, which we're going to call x1, y1, x2, y2. So if I have 2 points on a line, then I can just calculate the slope. And there are 2 formulas here. They're basically the same thing. What you do is you find the difference in the y's and divide by the difference in the x coordinates. You can start with y2 and x2, or I could start with y1 and x1. It doesn't matter which one you use, you will get the same answer. Let's look at 2 examples, and we want to find the slope. So for example A, we have these 2 points that are on a straight line, and what we could do is we could label x1, y1, x2, y2. So we could do this. So we have x1, y1, x2, y2. So if you want to do that, and I'm going to use this first formula right here. And you could use the second one as well. You should get the same answer. But let's use the first formula. So we have m equal to, I'm going to rewrite it, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So let's see. It's going to be 8 minus 5 in the numerator. And then we're going to divide by 4 minus 1. And then what you want to do from here is make sure that you have simplified and reduced the fraction that you get completely. So this is going to give us 8 minus 5, that's going to come out to be 3. 4 minus 1, that's 3. You want to reduce, and we get that the slope comes out to be a positive 1. Second example, we have again 2 points that are on a straight line, and we would like to calculate the slope. Where you have to be careful is when we have negative coordinates, you have to be careful with the signs because the formula also has minus sign for both numerator and denominator. So be careful with the negative signs, as you will see in example B. So again, y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. And also let's label our points, x1, y1, x2, y2. 1 and 2 for these points, it just means 0.1, 0.2, that's all that means. Let's substitute, but be careful. y2 is 4. Then I have minus from the formula, and then y1 is negative 2. So you make sure you write 4 minus a minus 2. Over x2, that's 0, minus from the formula a minus 3. So make sure, be careful with these signs because if you get the wrong sign, then the answer is wrong. So let's simplify. That's 4 plus 2 over 0 plus 3. 4 plus 2, that's 6 over 3. And the slope comes out to be 2. So when you calculate the slope, basically all you need to remember is you need to memorize or remember this formula. And then we need to just put in our coordinates, calculate it correctly, and that would give us the slope. Let's look at the second part of this section, which is graphing using the slope and the y-intercept. So what we want to do here is we want to graph using the slope and the y-intercept. We learned how to graph using a table where we pick 3 points, but now let's go over how to use the slope and a point, the point is usually the y-intercept. The directions are the same. What we want to do is graph and label 3 points. When you're looking at your problem, you want to make sure that the equation is in slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form means that the equation is solved for y. If your equation is in slope-intercept form, it's really easy to graph. You need 2 pieces of information. Number 1 is we need to know what the y-intercept is. The y-intercept is an ordered pair, and the y-intercept is the number that you see here. So remember, y-intercept x is 0, and then y is -3. Just got that from the equation. The second piece of information we need is the slope. The slope is the number that is right next to x, or the number that's multiplied with x, and in this case it's 2. What I'm going to do is I'm going to write 2 over 1. So this is all you need, and you can generate as many points as you want. In this case, we just want 3. And when you're graphing the 3 points, you make sure that the 3 points line up, because that's how you know you did it right. If the 3 points do not line up, then there's a mistake. So let's start. So the first thing you want to do always is graph your y-intercept, which is always on the y-axis. So our y-intercept is 0, -3. That would be down here. So I just put a point right there. The next thing is we just use the slope, and we use the slope to get our 2 other points. So since this is a positive slope, it means that we go up 2 and 1 to the right. So up and then 1 to the right. Where do you go up and 1 to the right? You always start at the y-intercept. So up 2, 1, 2, and 1 to the right. So I have my second point. How do you get your third point? Just do the same thing again, but start from where you left off. So again, up 2, 1, 2, and 1 to the right. So we have our third point. The points line up, so that means I have everything correct. And what you need to do is just draw a line through the points. Before I draw a line, let me quickly show you one thing. You can always go up 2 and 1 to the right, up 2, 1 to the right. You can also go down 2, 1, 2, and you can go 1 to the left. So what are we doing? We're doing the opposite. So if you go up and to the right, the opposite would be down and to the left. So you have 2 options. You can get all your points up here. If you want to get points at the bottom here, then you would do the opposite, which is down and to the left. So either way, it would work. Since I have these points, I do need to connect them. So make sure that you do that on your paper. And so we get our graph, and let's make sure we connect this. So our graph looks like that. It's always a straight line. You want to put arrows at the end of your graph, and that would be it. Let's look at example 2. Our equation is solved for y, which means it's in slope-intercept form. So I can easily get the y-intercept and the slope without doing any work. What is the y-intercept? It is this number right here. You want to write it as an ordered pair. The ordered pair is 0, 2. Next, we want to figure out the slope. Just look at the problem. It's the number that is right next to x that's multiplied with x. Happens to be a fraction, which is fine. -1/3. Okay, this is an example where we have negative slope. So what does negative slope tell us? It tells us to go down and to the right. Or the opposite of that would be what? It would be up and to the left. Either one is fine. You don't have to remember both ways. You could just remember that if the slope is negative, you go down, and if your slope is positive, you go up, and you always go to the right. So you can always just remember it this way. Let's start graphing. Start at 0, 2. It's always the first step on the y-axis. Let me use red. All right, so I have my y-intercept, and then remember, you just use your slope, so we go down and to the right. You go down 1 and to the right 3. So down 1, to the right 3. 1, 2, 3. And then we do it again, down 1, to the right 3. 1, 2, 3. Again, if you want to use the other option, you could go up 1 and to the left 3. 1, 2, 3. So we could do that as well. You've got your points, you want to connect them. We also actually want to write out what the ordered pairs are, so we're going to do that for both examples right now. So you want to write out the ordered pairs. I will ask you to label them on your test. So let's see. Let's start over here. The ordered pair right here is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it'll be 6, 0. Ordered pair for the second point, that's going to be 3, 1. That's the y-intercept, which is 0, 2. So I have that on my paper. And if you want to label this point, that's going to be -3, 1, 2, 3. So -3, 3. So I will ask you to label 3 points on your graph, and 3 points includes the y-intercept. Really quickly, let's go back to this example, label our points. This point is 2, 1. Second one, 1, -1. Third, that's 0, -3, y-intercept. And this last one, -1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -5. And that's about it. Let's look at one more example. So this next example, if you look at it carefully, the equation that's given, x plus 4y equals -8, is not in slope-intercept form. So I put solve for y so that you put it in this form. Before you graph, you want to make sure your equation is solved for y. So how do we do that? Subtract x from both sides. We're left with 4y equals -x minus 8. Divide everything by 4. We get y equals, I've written -1/4 x, and then -8 divided by 4 is -2. So when I write this part here, it's easier to just put the x in the middle rather than putting it in the numerator. But either way is fine. So here's my equation. We want to get our 2 pieces of information. One is you want your y-intercept, which is 0, -2. And second, I want the slope, which happens to be -1/4. So again, since the slope is negative, you're going to go down and to the right, or you could go up and to the left. Either one's fine. So we're going to start at the y-intercept as usual, right here. And we should go down 1 and to the right, so down 1 to the right 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you could do it again, down 1 to the right 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have 3 points. Like I said, you can go up 1 to the left 4, up 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. You could do that as well. The points line up. Let's connect them and then just label our points, and then we will be done. Make sure you have arrows at the end of your graph. Okay, quickly label our points. So we'll start right here. We have, this is -4, -1. That's the y-intercept, 0, -2. Then we have right here, this is 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 comma -3. And then we have this point, and just make sure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, comma -4. And then we have everything labeled, and that is our graph. So on your test, I will ask you for basically the same thing. So just make sure you go over this, and if you have any more questions, please email me or feel free to come by during my office hours, which are on the syllabus.